Okay, on to Spanish. Spanish is a bit of an oddity because I'm not a beginner at Spanish for sure. I'm actually going through these apps that are for really basic stuff. They're beginners and they're boring. I know 99% of what they're showing me, but I'm not comfortable enough having a full-on conversation in it. I'm kind of in between the two. It is possible to find Spanish speakers here. They're not as prominent as people from other countries, obviously, but there are lots of classes if I want to take that. There are lots of events where Spanish-speaking people get together. I actually know some Spanish-speaking people, so I have opportunities and resources and stuff to use the language. With Spanish, I'm less concerned about helping people on the street. I want to get to a conversational level, so I would essentially like to feel. Yeah, I remember writing this down. I would like to be able to talk about really concrete, day-to-day experiences and activities and happenings and such, pretty fluidly, without having to pause a lot, without having to translate too much. So I'm thinking along the lines of when people ask me what did you do yesterday? What do you do on the weekends? What are you going to do tomorrow? Or describing things like describe your job, describe where you live, tell me about your family, tell me about your friends. I think I said tell me about work already, or hobbies. What do you do for fun? That sort of thing. Really concrete stuff with lots of actions, lots of objects, using adjectives to describe, what things look like, what things feel like, that sort of thing. If I could do that, I'm going to refrain from things like giving opinions, giving ideas, talking about reasons and stuff like that. That's a little more advanced for me. So that's the goal with Spanish. Okay, finally on to Japanese. Now, I would say my Japanese is probably the best of the three. No, I'm not saying it's very good. I'm just saying compared to the other two, it's better. Very functional in the language. I can get by on my own, that sort of thing. So I want to break through. I want to break through this conversational level into some fluency. I don't know whether I would say I'm fluent or not in the language. I would say that highly depends on how you define fluency. Like if I say on a good day, I'm not thinking in English when I'm speaking Japanese. I'm thinking 90-95% in Japanese, and I can communicate whatever I need to communicate. I have the strategies, the communicative strategies, that if I get stuck on something, like I don't know a word, I can find ways to get around it. Or if I'm not sure what the correct grammar is, I can get a close enough approximation that the person can understand me. Basically, I haven't had someone say, I don't understand you, I don't understand what you're trying to say, for years. That's basically what level I'm at, but I'm sure I'm making lots of little mistakes in any case. So I'm not, my goals are beyond these kind of broader foundational skills of being able to describe things, being able to greet people and ask people questions, that sort of thing. I'm at the point where really it's about just what I want to do specifically with the language. And because I like YouTube so much, my first and foremost goal is to be able to talk about this passion with people in Japanese, and in a as much of a Japanese-like way as possible. I want to sound the way a Japanese person would when talking about YouTube or when talking about making videos and things like this. What I mean by this is that as it is, I can get by. I could use really simplified words and expressions and phrases and things like this to talk about it, but I don't want to just get by with this topic. I want to sound like native-like. That's the word I was looking for, native-like. I want to use the words that native speakers use. I want to build the sentences native speakers build. I want to connect sentences the way they do in things like this. So my goal ultimately is to get good enough at talking about YouTube that people would be like, are you Japanese, or did you grow up in Japan, that sort of thing. That's my goal with that. And I actually have like a list of 9 other goals I have with Japanese, but just really, really briefly, I also want to be able to talk about my field, teaching, in that way. Let's see, I want to talk about movies and music to that degree as well. I want to pick up the lingo, pick up the terminology, the phrases, the idioms they use, that sort of thing, because those are two other topics I really, really love. I actually forgot all my others because those are the most immediate. Also on there is to pass the, it's called the JLPT, in Japanese, Nihongo Noryoku Shiken, which is the Japanese language proficiency test. I passed level 2 ages ago. I want to pass level 1. And yeah, actually my other goals have slipped my mind, but those are pretty far down the line. I'm pretty sure that these goals are going to take several years by themselves, so I'm going to focus on those.
Plotting for the best, yeah, I'm plotting for the best, coming straight from the dirt. I'm sprouting up a stem, here I come, your success, where you at? I'm